Hey now! What is up, everybody? My name is Mike Brown, aka Review King MB, and I just got back from the theaters after seeing Avatar 2 The Way of Water. This is a 2022 film that was directed by James Cameron, and oh boy, this movie. James Cameron has been touting and he has been shouting on rooftops, it feels like, over the release of this movie, promoting the hell out of it, shitting all over other franchises in order to make his movie seem like it's going to be the fucking greatest thing ever. And look, I get it. He spent the last 13 years since the first Avatar movie. And yeah, sure, granted, the first Avatar movie is the highest grossing movie of all time. But now, all these years later, he's probably feeling like, fuck, can a sequel, can a follow up movie repeat business, or hopefully something better? And look, I will say this. I could come on here and say, fuck you, James Cameron, you don't know what you're talking about, or you're shitting on these other blockbuster movies when all you're doing is using the same sort of CG technology that, yeah, maybe you push forward, but now you're shitting on everyone else and you make a movie that kind of is reliant on the same thing. I could do that. I could spend 10 minutes doing that. But to be honest, I will say that this movie is pretty good. You know, this movie is not bad, or it's not a type of film to where I would feel comfortable spending a lot of time crapping on it or nitpicking it, because I did find myself at least liking it more so than anything not. For example, I rewatched that first Avatar movie, and a big complaint that I had, even though the movie's fine, is I thought the characters were weak, I thought the writing was weak, I thought the villains were weak. This movie, because we've already gone through the setup, we've already gone through the, hey, let's introduce Pandora, let's introduce the Na'vi, let's introduce this world. We're past all that bullshit. We're here, we know the culture, we know the characters, we know a lot, so that we can just kind of jump into the action, or we can just jump into a new type of similar story, but just different. And I think we're able to do that fairly well. For example, Sam Worthington is back as the Jake Sully character. And in the first movie, he's sort of a dude. You know, there's nothing really special or important about him. I don't really know why he himself was the savior of this race. It just kind of was like, because he is. Where this movie, it's like, all right, do I fully buy how him and Zoe Saldana's alien character fell in love and why they're in love with each other? Not really. But now that we're past that point, now that they are together and that they have been together for years, and now in this movie they have a family, they have kids, like a bunch of kids. And so now these characters are, it's almost more important that they're protectors and they dedicate their lives now to protecting their family. And so that you can buy in, that you can connect with and believe with. So there's not much more you have to do. I think everything Sam Worthington's character does to be that father figure works. He has moments of being really hard on his kids, especially his sons, and but you see though that deep down he's afraid to lose them. He's afraid of them being weak, and so he's harder on them. And I like that. Zoe Saldana is great. She is. The first film I praised a few scenes of her being emotional and crying and just being devastated. This movie, it's almost like James Cameron said, yeah, do that 5 more times. Cry, be emotional, and react in those powerful ways that you did before, because she does that. And then there comes a point where she's so hurt. She's so emotionally distraught that she just says, fuck it, I have no more tears left. I'm just gonna go ape shit and kill a bunch of people. And that was fucking awesome. Not only was her character awesome in those instances, but I think the action pretty much all the way around was good. The CGI was really good as well. I don't know if it's because it's on the big screen, and so I do feel a lot more immersed in the effects, but I do think the effects, there is a reason why James Cameron said he had to wait this long in order for the effects to accomplish what he wanted to accomplish. And yes, the effects for the Na'vi, the blue people, the CGI for that does look great. It does look better. Way better, I think, than the first film. And so that's an improvement. But also everything revolving around the underwater stuff, everything revolving around the characters going to a whole new Na'vi tribe, almost like a different race of Na'vi, where they primarily live in the water. They're mostly all about the water life. And so it's cool to see the Sullys learn that. It's cool to see like just a whole new set of culture with the underwater. There's a couple side plots though when it comes to not just the tribe, but there's a whale. There's a whale that one of the Sully sons meets, and we get this whole backstory of this whale and what happened with the whale family, and how this whale is an outsider, and so the son connects to that because he's an outsider. And I'm just like, okay, I don't hate the whale being here. There's a couple parts where I thought the whale was cool, but all of this backstory, all of this, oh, he's just talking to the whale, communicating back and forth. I'm like, I don't think we need this. This movie is 3 hours and 10 minutes long. It's even longer than the first film. And I'm not saying that it was such a bore and such a drag, but I was feeling the length. There were times where I was sort of getting antsy and uncomfortable in my chair because I had been sitting there for over like 2.5 hours, and we were getting towards the end battle, and I just was like, oh, restless. Some movies, I can sit down for 3 hours and it flies by and I don't even feel it. And then there's other movies where it's like, all right, at that 2.5 mark, I'm kind of want you to wrap this shit up, B. Wrap it up. And then when I look back and think of certain things that maybe they could have cut down or cut out completely, some new cast. Let's talk about that first. Kate Winslet. It's not a good James Cameron movie unless Kate Winslet is here. So it was cool for me to look up the cast and see her name there. Also, Cliff Curtis. That guy is in 100 projects, I feel like. And so let's add this to the list. But we have some returning cast from the first movie, which is quite interesting when you think about what happened to them in the first movie. For example, Sigourney Weaver is back. And if you're like, how? I'm not going to get into like specifics and how or why a character or actor is here, but she's here. It was kind of cool what they did. And Stephen Lang, who's another one that like, no, motherfucker, he died. How is he back? How is he here? What they do with Stephen Lang, it's interesting, but I also thought it was a little forced. I also thought I was like, this is a little far-fetched. Why are we doing this? Why would they do this? Like in the story, in the movie, it's just because James Cameron wanted to bring him back. That's ultimately what it was. And at the end of this movie, it did feel like we could just be done with the villain and everything with the threat. Like we could end it. But because he wants to do like 5 more movies, he left it open-ended, and we're going to keep going. So there you go. It's probably not going to be in my best of the year or one of the most memorable movies for me of all time, but it's a movie. It's fun. It has its moments. It does have semblance of a really good story there. So guys, let me know in the comments below, what do you think of Avatar 2, The Way of Water? Do you like it more than I do, or are you not even interested in seeing it in the theater? Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Later!